My family and I traveled to Tennessee for our cousin's graduation, and while we were there, we stopped at President Andrew Jackson's Hermitage. As we pulled in, my mom started talking about how she felt such heavy energy, and my niece just started crying.
Stop saying that. What is she talking about?
I'm sensitive.
No, okay. Keep it in your head. What is she talking about?
Do you feel
No! She's scaring me. I don't need nobody to come back with us.
Nobody's gonna come back. I swear it's never a dull moment with my family. So if you recall from my previous TikTok, I talked about how I traced one of my ancestors all the way back to the Hermitage. And once I did that, I was in contact with one of their workers, but then she had retired. So then I got in contact with another worker who was the vice president of collections. So I was able to set up a nice tour for my family and myself. As soon as we arrived, my contact was there to greet us. And the first thing we did was go on the mansion tour. That's the mansion right there on your screen. It was really big. They only allow 12 people at a time for the mansion tours, so groups had to split up. While inside, they had interpreters through each section. They would give you details about the history, things you're seeing, such as that chandelier is an original chandelier from when the mansion was first built. They did have glass though, so that people couldn't physically go into the rooms, but so that you could see through it still. They also went into details about what you're seeing in the rooms, what might have been discussed in the rooms. That right there is an original painting. Overall, the interpreters were very, very informative, and that's an original painting too. And they really knew their stuff and answered all the questions we had. So that room right there was President Jackson's original room bedding, and this was his adopted son's room with the original bedding as well. So everything was like in perfect condition. So I guess that's also a reason why they have the glass up. So because if people were to step in those rooms, they might actually, mess things up. And those were actually President Jackson's shoes. He had very small feet. That is a painting of his wife. She died before he went to the White House, so there was no first lady when he was president. This is his workroom, so where he might write letters and things like that. Again, everything was well preserved, and right there, that is the Declaration of Independence. Like, how wonderful is that? Just so much history. Those are original books on the floor. So that's why they look a little moldy and stuff. So once you go upstairs on the next level, there are 2 bedrooms. These were the children's bedrooms. So the adoptive son, Andrew Jr.'s kids slept in these rooms. So here's one room. And here's the other room. Again, everything is original, even this mosquito net. So here is another room. This is where someone high profile might stay whenever visiting President Jackson, like the governor or a senator, someone like that. And this room had 2 beds in it. So President Jackson was always hosting people, so he wanted to always make sure that their living spaces were very comfortable. I really thought it was so neat that they were able to preserve all this stuff in this house. Like, some stuff was replicas, of course, but majority of the items were original. So once you're done upstairs, you will go outside to get to the other side of the house. And this is the pantry where they held all their foods and wines, things like that. This next room is where they held all the china, so the plates and cups and things like that. And then that's the dining room. They didn't have interpreters at this part to tell you anything. Here is the kitchen. It was completely detached from the house. I love that. so that, you know, you don't have any smells of food in your house. Like, what? And then they also had a smokehouse, you know, where they smoked all their meats. And honestly, it was actually hard to see in here because there's no lighting. But this is my first time actually seeing how it looked inside because my phone was able to pick it up. So outside, there was actually a basement door, and I wish I recorded it. I wasn't thinking, but we asked the worker about it, and she had told us it was there for like extra storage and things like that. And right now it's just there for like mechanical use. So like when we all got home, we actually should have said this to her though. You know, the slaves basically lived under there. And I don't know if it's because we were black and she was white, so she might not have wanted to, you know, say that to us. But we're not naive to it. We know slavery happened. We know that there were house slaves, and house slaves typically lived in the house, whether it be in the basement or in the attic. But according to her, 150 of the slaves lived in 12 of the slave cabins. Anywho, so we traveled to the grave site of President Jackson. And so that whole thing was like the garden. My sister's big head was all up in my camera. But anyways, so this whole area was like the garden area, and all of Andrew Jackson's family was buried on site. So this specific grave right here, this is Alfred's grave. Alfred was like Andrew Jackson's #1 slave. That was like his right-hand man, basically. He treated him pretty nicely. But who knows, because we weren't living in that time. We're just going based off of their documents. Alfred's living quarters were right next to the house because, you know, he probably needed to run into the house a lot to assist President Jackson. But this is his actual bed that he bought with his own money. So at some point in time, he was able to make his own purchases as a slave. Okay, I need to get into Hannah. Hannah Jackson. Oh, this is my 6th great grandmother. And I am truly blessed that she survived slavery and was able to produce a child, because if it were not for her, all of our family would not be here. So as we continue, I know they said that these slave cabins were originals. When you go inside, now look, they have a fireplace and everything. Ain't no way. I mean, don't get me wrong. Maybe President Jackson really did treat his slaves with respect and gave them a nice high living standard, but from some of the quarters that I've seen, they never looked like this. Like, they make slavery look like it wasn't that bad, which I actually don't like, because it was a lot of non-black people here, and we don't want them to think it was easy. But that's a story for another day. I want to talk about something different. So after the tour, we had gone back inside because our tour guide wanted to show me actually some records she had on file on her computer. So me and a couple of my family members went into her office. We talked about various things, but I wanted to bring up how on my ancestry, it was showing Charlotte was married to a General Jackson. This is a black man, by the way. But in their records, Charlotte was married to a Jerry Donaldson. And Donaldson actually is a city in Tennessee. And so it's very interesting because Donaldson was my great-grandmother's maiden name. So it's been in the family for a very long time. And President Jackson's wife's maiden name was Donaldson. So what our guide had told us was that, you know, everybody in the area was pretty much family. So basically, the slaves would marry other slaves from the other families. So I guess the Donaldson family was another family that was a few acres away on another property. I know you guys have been waiting for it. And of course, I asked the question, did they plan on doing DNA testing to confirm if Charlotte is the daughter and the only biological child of President Jackson? And the response was absolutely. However, they need DNA. Jackson does not have any biological kids, so it's going to be very hard. They have very little information on who Jackson's dad and grandfather are and their names, so that is what's halting this situation. They know that this person will be somewhere in Europe, so all of his family members will be in Europe right now. He really doesn't have any family in the United States, but as soon as they get a lead, they will go for it and, you know, try to prove it. But I really want to show you guys this picture again, just so you can see Charlotte compared to President Jackson and Hannah's husband. Look at how dark her eyes and eyebrows are. Like, it literally looks like President Jackson's. So as we were leaving, there was so much cotton in the air. It was like our ancestors were sending us farewell. It's crazy because there was no cotton at all on the plantation. So I have a theory of where I think this cotton was coming from. Well, that is all. And if you guys have any questions or want some more information, let me know and I'll make another video.